Well, at least I'm good at pretending to be. So there you go.
No, man, no,
No,
you're a great guy.
thanks, Pete. I
But it's
appreciate
good
it.
to be back. I mean,
Yeah,
the football season's back. Like down here in Sydney, it's one of the best times of the year for me because we're getting to the end of our football season, which is the NRL, and it's finals time, and then you got the end, then you got training camp and stuff, and so it's a great, and it's September, so it's spring for us. You're going into fall, and um, as you can imagine, I've spent some time in the States because of my affiliation and my love of San Francisco 49ers. But so yeah, going into spring, and it's just getting warmer, and it's a great time of year.
outstanding. Well, welcome back. Glad to have you back. Just want to encourage people on my channel. Make sure you get over to Niners DNA, give them a like and subscribe. Same thing with folks coming to us from Pete's channel. Come over to TED Talks Ball, give me a like and subscribe. And something I figured out recently is like, hey, if you're watching on a PC, open up 2 tabs on your browser, watch both shows at once, get us more VRs. Or even if you're on your phone, you can't do 2 tabs. You could do a tablet or another device, and again, watch both shows at once. It really helps us. So thanks in advance for your help on that. Got some folks that were here early. We got Bebop Jones must have been here yesterday. It says 9:19 p.m. It says Go Niners, SF Giants wins. That must have been last night. Bebop's from Bethlehem, PA, Pennsylvania. And a little trivia, the Golden Gate Bridge was built there. So he's near Philly, basically. Jimmy Perez in the house says, what's up, Ted and Faithful? At 9:21 p.m. This must have been when I made the show.
Yeah.
Good evening. Bryant Culp stopped by early too. He says, hey, Bebop Jones, you're the best. Funny there. Talking to one there. What's up, Jimmy Perez? Yeah, these guys are having a whole chat last night. Mutual Admiration Society.
Yeah.
Bryant
Yeah.
Culp has his own show now too, and he's a big Jake Moody fan.
Really?
He even has Moody 4 pictures of Moody at the 4 corners of his overlay. So like 2 from college and 2 from like OTAs and minicamp. So yeah, there you go.
Is he a big Michigan
Yeah,
guy?
these guys are going. So here's something from today. The AJ show in the house. This might be a new viewer, so hit that like button. Have an awesome stream, my friends. Thanks for stopping by, AJ.
Thanks, AJ. Thank you.
And then Jimmy Perez was here early. Now he's back. Let's go. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Outstanding. Brian Culp is back too. Thank you for coming. Boom. Um, and then go SF Giants. W. There you go. So that
Bebop
might be,
Jones. That's a great name.
yeah, he he had a different handle last season. He was Bebop Jones for a while, and for a while he changed to Cowboy Angel right up until the divisional round when we played the Cowboys, and then of course he went back to Bebop Jones. He couldn't have anything Cowboy in
No.
his handle, so he's a good man for taking one for the team there and doing the right thing. So commend you, Bebop. Um, it's interesting since we haven't been on for a while. We haven't really talked about the draft. Should we talk about that, or should we jump into training camp? What would you like to talk about first,
Look,
Pete?
I something that I've been doing on my channel, Ted, is I've been doing some reactions to the reactions. So reactions like from you and um, Lombardi, and trying to get a cross section and just finding out the different opinions of these content creators, or the content creators that are over there, trying to give a snippet of what's happening to my audience here in Sydney. So I'd love to get straight into training camp if that's all right. I'd love to hear, because you're there and being all the way back over here, I just love to hear what you think, because I've already had a listen to Lombardi, Johnny Chapman, Jesse Naylor, Grant, obviously, and want to hear what you saw today and what you think. Who do you think the best quarterback was? Who do you think also stood out? Obviously, the UDF, the undrafted free agent D Winners with his interception. But anyway, I'll stop talking. What did you think?
Yeah, D Winners did have a great pick against Trey Lance during the move the ball period. So that was good because I hadn't seen a ton of him so far through camp. Oren Burks got a lot of the starting reps throughout camp at linebacker. McCrary Balls played pretty well. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles played really well the other day. So it's a really stacked linebacker room. The one person that I haven't seen much from in the linebacker room is Jalen Graham out of Purdue. He did really well during OTAs and minicamp, but haven't seen much from him or heard anybody else talk about him much. In one nice thing that I have had at camp is that I've gotten to sit with a lot of the top content creators most of the days. Raj, Rohan, Jesse, Ryan Hensley, Steph, Brad Graham was nearby for a few days. He was on the VIP side, I think, today. But like Jordan Elliott stopped by this afternoon. Crocky sat with us. Yeah, Crocky sat with us the other day. I think the only person that really hasn't sat near me so far during camp is John Chapman. He kind of does his own thing. But yeah, it's been great. And it really helps me because this is my first time at camp. And it really helps just to have a lot of eyes on the situation because a lot of times it's on a far field and it's hard to see. You can just kind of see guys when they go between guys and things like that. And, it's like, oh, who is quarterback and who is the receiver and who is defending. There's no multiple camera angles. There's no super zoom in. There's no slow-mo. So a lot of things that you're used to when you watch a game that really give you a great idea of what's going on. You don't have at camp. Not only that, but like in a game when you're watching, like you got a substitution here or there. Some plays there's no substitutions. In camp, it's like mass substitutions. Maybe not every play, but every few plays. All the weapons, a lot of the O-line, the quarterbacks are rotating. So it's much more difficult to keep track of who's in. And then at the same time, that's just on offense. And then obviously defense is doing the same thing. So it can be definitely a little bit confusing. But as far as who's the best quarterback, I mean, I think that's what everybody wants to know. And you're going to hate me because, like, as of today, I'm like, it's kind of a dead heat. I had Sunday, I had Darnold being the best. Monday, I had Lance being the best. Tuesday, I had Purdy being the best. And today, I had Darnold again the best, but Purdy real close and Lance real close to that. So, then it would sound like Darnold would be the best, but like on Monday or Tuesday, when Purdy was the best and Lance was really close, and maybe you can even make an argument that Lance was better. I can get into that context in a minute. Darnold had one of his only bad days. And so, sum total, they're kind of, there's kind of a logjam, in my opinion, of the top three guys. And interestingly enough, on the day that really happened, because for me, it was like the other day, I had Darnold and Lance as the 1A, 1B. I would say Lance and Darnold. I think Lance has been a little bit better. But like 1A, 1B, and Purdy was like ascending, getting better and better, doing better and better, getting more like closer to being back to his 2022 self. And on the day when I really felt like it really all broke even, where Purdy caught up to the other two, is the day where Brandon Allen got 0 reps. And we're all just like, yay, because a lot of us felt like he was getting too many reps. It was like Purdy was getting the ones, and then like Lance would get one set of twos, and then Allen would get the threes, and then the next one Purdy would get the ones, and Darnold would get the twos on the second go around, and then Allen would get the threes, and we're just like, can't we get less of Allen? And I think we saw that on Tuesday too. Allen had maybe half as many reps as everybody else on Tuesday, and then no reps today, and it's just like, let's keep that going. I mean, I don't think we should ice him out completely. I do want him to be able to play if need be, if we need to call him up from the practice squad, but I really think that's where he belongs. And I'm hoping that we'll, carry, 4 QBs, Purdy, Lance, Darnold. I think that's the order right now. I think all things equal, you got to go with Purdy because of what he did last year, but I'd like to see him look like he looked like last year before we hand him the job. One thing so when I said that Purdy won on Tuesday, he did, but he also threw like 2 interceptable balls that were dropped, like easily interceptable balls that were drops. You don't call it a drop if it's not easy, right? If it's like just way off your fingertip or something. They're kind of in the breadbasket. And he also threw one in the dirt, and he also got sacked a bunch. And so people say, well, Purdy's working against the first team D. And you go, so you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's tougher, right? But Purdy has the first team weapons. And on Tuesday, when he had the best day, he the most of his completions were against Ambry Thomas. And Ambry is not first team. Let me tell you, Ambry is closer to not being on the team than first team. And then another day when he did really well, he hit Ayuk and Debo on back-to-back plays. He was against Terrence Mitchell, who's like this journeyman corner off the street, even worse probably than Ambry Thomas. So you got to keep that in mind that like Lance still hasn't played with CMC. If you saw me all off season, all I've been talking about is we need to see Lance with CMC and more Kittle, because he only played basically one game with Kittle and none with CMC, and we still haven't seen Lance with CMC in training camp. They might have played some together in OTA's minicamp, but none in training camp yet. So there's context behind all this, and stats aren't everything, and they're subjective, and it's really hard to tell what's a sack because they keep playing, and it's hard to tell what's a tackle because they keep playing, and so a lot of it is up to interpretation too. So sometimes people will have different stats because they have a narrative that they're looking to promote, but sometimes it's just like basic, difference of opinion on what happened on a play. But for me, if a D lineman's coming in on the quarterback and instead of hitting him, they pull up and stop, they're not just going to keep running to keep run. That's a sack, right? But some people count that as a completion. Most notably, David Lombardi. And he was like, the other day, he was the only person to have Lance 1 of 4, and everybody else had him 2 of 5. It's just little things like that. And I'm not gonna say he's biased, but I mean, come on, it just seems like he's always biased towards Jimmy and maybe a little biased towards Purdy now. So we'll see. But real quick, just want to say hi to Silly Fungi in the house. He's a Rams fan, but he's pretty cool. A lot of funny dad jokes. He says, but there's a serious one. Do you think the QB who lands at 3 will be traded? I mean, there's a chance if Darnold ends up at 3, we trade him. I mean, if I would say if Brandon Allen was looking as good, but he's not. I mean, because basically with Darnold, the thing is with his contract, like there's a huge disincentive to ever play him because every time you play him, you got to pay him. Whereas like all the other quarterbacks are at fixed amounts, with Lance at 9 and Darnold and Purdy basically at, we'll just say 1 million, whatever it is, 900,000, 1.2 in the million-ish range. Whereas Darnold is 3.5 to 10.5, depending on how much and how well he plays. So there's a huge disincentive to playing Darnold, but I don't think it's big enough that you would stick a lesser QB in at QB3 just to save money.
I don't think they'll trade the QB3. Yeah, I agree with Bryant there for sure, because of the QB room that they're building, because of what's happened in the past with our O-line and our QBs getting hit. But the fact that Kyle's desperate to win a Super Bowl, and when one of them goes down, which inevitably I think they will, people get injured. He does not want someone to come in and not be able to run his offense, and he wants to still win. So I think that's just as simple as you can put it, and as unbiased as you can put it, is that he wants, if Purdy goes down, he brings in either Lance or Darnold, and they're going to be able to get the job done. Whereas, you bring in a Brandon Allen when Joe Burrow goes down, you're basically just going to keep the status quo in terms of the score what it is now. He's just going to be able to manage the game and maybe not score any more points. So that's my point of view. We'll keep all 3 QBs just to make sure that we keep those wins, all those W's in the win column.
I think that's smart, especially when the whole room only costs, $14 million now and maybe a maximum of $24 million. It's still less than we paid Jimmy G. So Jess from East Coast Red and Gold podcast in the house. She's I think she's got some people on. Is it tonight? Or no, it was last night. She had Hammer and Larry Kruger, was it, on the show? So check that out. The week before they had Jesse Sapolo on, and the week before that was Spencer Burford. So they are bringing in the heavy hitter guests. Make sure you check out Jess, Ty, Maddie B, and Bex. They do great stuff. In fact, Pete, since you were on last, I this towel here, the little red one there,
I can see that.
is Diva Den from Bex. It's one of her designs or whatnot. So she sent that to me, and obviously added the 49er Faithful UK as well up here. So good stuff. I mean, I've redone the whole studio since you were on, but
yeah. So what I wanted to ask, so just based on, so what I heard this morning from John Chapman, and who I love, obviously, is he had, and I love that you've given some more context for me as well in terms of who Brock was throwing against, in terms of it being Ambry Thomas, right? Which I've heard is like
and Terrence Mitchell, who
and
I've
Terrence
never even
Mitchell,
heard
right?
of before.
So Lombardi today had Brock at number 1. John Chapman had Trey at number 1, and he said because in the team drills, not to move the ball, that Trey threw the best passes, that he looked the most sharpest. So
that's the thing. That's the thing about the stats is that if Purdy's just throwing short over the middle and dumping off to the flats, and you got a high completion percentage, it doesn't mean nearly as much as like I definitely know. See, and unfortunately, I got to tell myself I actually missed the team drills this morning because I jumped on with Ryan Hensley. He had Rob Stats Guerrera on his show, and he wanted someone to report live from camp, but it was right when 11 on 11s were starting, so I missed that. But I will say that the other day, Lance threw a laser to the sideline, and I immediately turned to everybody that I was sitting with, all the content creators. I was like, Purdy doesn't have that club in his bag. It's just the zip he put on it. It just, and I'll tell you who else doesn't. Brandon Allen doesn't either. Now Darnold, I don't think he has quite a strong arm as Lance, but I think he might be able to make a throw like that. I don't think you have to have a cannon to do that, but you definitely need to have a strong arm. And Purdy and Purdy, I'll say, didn't have that pre-UCL injury, and he is definitely not back to that level yet. So I'm knock on wood. I hope he is back. I definitely want Purdy to be his best self, and I just want Lance to beat him out anyway. That's my hope. That's whole iron sharpens iron. I want them both to push each other, and whoever wins to be the best because the other one pushed him to the limit, not because the other one his arm fell off, or in Lance's case his ankle fell off, right? I mean, we got to remember Lance is coming back from a serious injury too. It's just with those breaks, they don't tend to have the same complications as the soft tissue injuries, the ACLs, the Achilles, the quad tear, patella tear. And I think this UCL is kind of in that category, especially because it's his throwing arm. I'm going to wonder about Purdy until he takes some real hits. And really gets tackled and gets back up and shakes it off and is able to perform at the same level after being tackled. Because a lot of times quarterbacks have to sit there in the pocket and wait for someone to come uncover, knowing that waiting to that last second, they're going to get hit to do it. And I want to see how Purdy reacts to that.
And then just on Kyle for me. So Grant has been reporting, and I think Croc has been reporting that Lance will throw a pass or Sam will throw a pass. They'll look to Kyle for some appreciation or, you should have done this, you should have done that. But apparently he just looks straight back down at his play sheet, right? And then I'm hearing Steve Wilkes is much more on the ground. He's talking to them. What's your point? So then I think, okay, Kyle will probably go to the video room and do his coaching then, but he doesn't have the time to go out and do his one-on-ones when they're trying to move the ball or whatever. What's your thoughts on that? Because I've never been that enamored with Kyle. I think he's a great play caller. I don't think he's a head coach. Still don't. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it was Grant who said it, and when we were working together in the past, I've been a really big Shanahan fan, but I'm starting to sour a little bit. I mean, I'm definitely questioning him when it comes to quarterbacks at this point. After passing on Mahomes, passing on Brady, not getting Stafford, saying yes to Hoyer, CJ, and Mullins, having Purdy as QB3 to start last season when,
That's right.
it's easily arguable he was our best quarterback in 2022. Why was he down there? And people say, well, he got better in the year. I'm like, well, we don't know because we never let Purdy run with the ones to even find out what he was before the season started to know what the benchmark was. So, I got some frustration around that. Also, third round running backs. However, Ty Davis Price seems like he might be ready to, undo the demons of Trey Sermon. He's been running real hard along with Jordan Mason. And then, of course, Elijah Mitchell injured today at practice, abductor. But
Always.
one thing I've been ragging on him for being injury prone, but I will give him some leeway on this one just because the linebackers have been teeing off on him and tackling him, and you're not supposed to tackle running backs. And both Dre and Fred have both been tackling the out of him, and so that could be why he strained his abductor. So I'm going to give Elijah Mitchell a little bit of a pass on this one, but it is troubling given his rest of his injury history. But again, with Kyle, yeah, he said that about Lance. There's something went wrong on the play, and Lance looked at Kyle like, "Did I do it right?" And Kyle just looked back and called another play. And a part of that is I'll give Kyle a little excuse on that because, like I said, the pace on these plays is like super fast of like personnel getting the play in, getting it run. It is not a 45-second clock at camp. It's like 15 seconds, and so that could be part of it. I'll give him a little excuse, but it's troubling. It's troubling. I'll say, and I'm not going to give him a complete, pass. I think I would like to see Kyle help his young raw QB a little bit more and help him to be more confident. I think part of Trey's confidence problem comes from Kyle and the way he's been treated. So yeah. So those are some knocks, and then along those lines, I think Grant brought up something interesting earlier in the offseason where he was talking about Chris Forster, our offensive line coach, and how like you brought up Wilkes. Yeah, he's out there all the time. He's coaching up any free minute. He's like there with Mooney Ward or the safeties, Jair Brown or Lenore or whoever. He's coaching. He's always coaching. And Forster, when it came to the offensive line, like last year, he was like basically like, yeah, Banks, Brendel, Burford, we're going to ride with them till the wheels fall off. We believe these are our guys. We're going to ride with them till the wheels fall off. And Kyle never really did that for Trey Lance. And Grant brought that up, and I kind of agreed with it. And then, they're kind of doing it again this year with Colton McKivitz. Like, hey, Colton is our guy. We're not going to draft anybody. We're not going to pull in a free agent or trade for somebody. Like, we're riding with Colton McKivitz. And Colton has been really, really good in training camp so far. He hasn't given up a lot of sacks. He was really good in one-on-ones. So it's working. And so it's just like, yeah, maybe Kyle is a little bit better as an offensive coordinator. I mean, he's obviously a genius play designer, play caller. No doubt about that. But like now I'm, questioning quarterback decision-making on who to pick and who not to pick. And I'm questioning third-round running backs. Again, I think TDP will fix that. But there's questions, and I'm not so like rock solid of a Shanahan. I'm starting to say that this could decide his legacy, at least with the 49ers, how he handles this. Because if he trades Trey Lance away, which I really don't think is going to happen now, but remember there was that talk not long ago about that, and I was just like, no, not happening. Everybody talked about like we're not trading Lance, and then eventually I was just like, well. We shouldn't trade Trey Lance, and if we do, then it's just going to be another one of these mistakes that Kyle's made when it comes to the QB. So yeah, I mean, I still like him. I still think he's a genius. I want him to get this QB thing right because if we do trade Trey Lance, or Mike Silver saying cut him, I mean, come on, that's just so ridiculous. No. I'm calling him Tarnished Silver now, by the way, too, because he blocked me after I was nice. He was mean, rude. Condescending to me, rude. And then finally I took one of his tweets basically and turned it back on him and was rude back to him. Just the same verbiage he used on me, and he blocked me. And I was like, okay, you're soft. But bottom line is, with Kyle, he's got to get this one right. If we do let Lance go to another team and he hits this ceiling, this potential ceiling that we all feel he has, This is something that Kyle will never live down, and I don't think he'll have that long here to live it down, especially if we don't get it done with Purdy. If we keep Purdy and don't get number 6, but for me, the bigger thing is the fans. Like, we're going to hear about this forever. We'll never hear the end of it. Because it's like, here you got this guy, you move up, he's got the traits, you don't develop him, you let him go, and he turns into the man somewhere else. Like, this is egg on your face for all time, as far as I'm concerned. So I got some concerns with Kyle. I still really like him. I think there's no one I'd rather have right now. I don't want to fire him. I just want him to do better. That's all.
I don't want to fire him either. And this might sound, a little bit controversial, but I almost think that that Kyle's kind of he's so smart, but he's almost on the spectrum, like he's one of those guys that I think doesn't have that social graces, or to be able to sort of have these relationships that can be intense. And I also think that you might think this as well, Ted, is that he wants a quarterback that just does the hell what he just do that. That's it.
Yeah.
Call that play. You don't do anything else, right?
Yeah, I've been saying I'm starting to wonder if he really wants a franchise QB, or if he just wants a mid QB robot who does what he's told.
Which it's also that's why I don't think he wanted Brady, because I think Kyle wants to be the star of the show.
Or Rodgers.
Right? Yeah, he wants to be the star of the show. It's all about Kyle. I want to outgrow my father's shadow. I'm going to get the 6 here at San Francisco, and he's so desperate to do it. And with desperation comes bad decisions. And just, as David has just said, I want to keep our QB healthy as well. And that's the other thing with our O-line. He ignores things. It's almost like people will, or his advisors or the fan base or whatever, know some stuff that seems like as plain as the nose on your face, and he will not do it just out of spite. He's like Larry David. He's got a spite. He wants to open. He's just got this spite that he will not bend to the will of others. I don't think he has that open mind. But, did you listen to the Play Callers, the podcast by Jordan Rodriguez? Did you listen to that? Oh, you're frozen, Ted. Hello? Ted, you there, mate? We've frozen. You might have to go in and come back out. Well, am I going to keep this show going on my own here? Do you want to go back out and come back in? It's a nice smile. Oh, which side will I go? See you, mate. Love you. Just saying goodbye to my son then. So, guys, look, until Ted comes back in, what I'll keep saying about Kyle is that he is a man that I think was given a very, very, very he was given probably everything that he was wanted as a kid. And I'm no psychologist. I don't want to get him on the couch. I don't want to be psychoanalyzing the guy. But I mean, coaching a team like this takes a lot of skills. You've got to wear a lot of hats. You're a man manager. You have to manage egos, massive egos that are a part of these fantastic athletes. You've got to manage schedules. You've got to manage your staff. You've got to manage the winning percentage of your team. You're answerable to people above. There are so many things, and there's so much pressure on him that I just think sometimes he's not cut out to do all things at once, like a Belichick or even like a Sean McVay who's under him. But, then hearing the stuff on Play Callers, that Sean McVay I'm trying to get into one square here. Sean McVay, you hear in Play Callers, was nearly having a nervous breakdown in regard to what happened to him in the 2022 season and the injuries that he had and stuff. So, you cannot question the amount of pressure that these guys are on and the money that's involved. But I just think Kyle needs to take into account more of what his advisors have to say. I think he has to. You there, mate?
Yeah, we had a little blackout and my Wi-Fi is resetting, so I just popped on using my mobile phone for now. Hopefully that
That's okay.
works.
I went on a bit of a rant about Kyle and
There you
that
go.
he's
Good.
probably had a very privileged life, and that that the hats that he has to wear that other people can do in management positions in terms of managing people up, managing down, in terms of um, the bosses that he has, and them the Yorks wanting a sixth, and that coaching his team and getting the winning percentages up, looking after his staff, looking after his quarterback. I just think when that all comes to pass and all those that all those spinning plates that he has to keep going at the same time, I think inevitably always one breaks. And a lot of it in the last couple of years has been the quarterbacks breaking.
Absolutely. Quarterback has held us back. I've been saying that. Like, all these people are like, well, nobody, everybody passed on Mahomes. Nobody thought it was going to be great. And Brady had a bad year. And Jimmy, we thought he was going to improve. And Stafford, he wanted to be in LA. And there's like a little excuse for everything. And I probably said most of those things at that time. Each one in a microcosm by itself, you can kind of make the excuse. And it kind of sounds good. And you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds fine. But then when you look at the sum total, you're like, this is bad, BAD bad. This is damning that we're going into year 7 and we're still unsettled at quarterback. And yeah, quarterback has been a big problem, especially Jimmy G, one of the worst fourth quarter QBs ever in playoff games. And then people say, well, Brock's so much better. I'm like, well, you know what? Jimmy never had CMC in the playoffs either, though. So I think
Mm,
Jimmy would have been better if he had had
mm,
CMC. He was very good this season. He went 4-0. And people say, well, Purdy scored 7 more points. And I'm like, well, our defense got 2.4 turnovers for Purdy,
that's right.
forced them in our favor. Whereas with Jimmy G, we only forced 1.2. So that's about half that difference. And I like to say most of the D's that Brock faced were either bad and or banged up defenses. One of the
Mm,
few that he did well against that was a good defense was the Commanders. They were missing Cam Curl, their second leading tackler. Not a huge deal, but something to note. But the huge thing was that they gave us the ball 4 times inside the 35-yard line. That is basically 12 to 28 points free. Just here you go, have them. Where Ron Rivera went for it inside their 35 and we stuffed it. They did an onside kick when they should have kicked it away, and that got us the ball inside the 35. And I forget what the other two were. But, the bottom line is that was the best performance versus a good D that Purdy had. And then you go into Cowboys and we score 19 points. Well, that ain't 33, folks,
mm,
So, and I got into, this huge to do recently on the timeline about, the Cowboys. And I said, basically, if you're going to say that we could have, some people say we should have, or I say could have, or some people say we would have beaten the Eagles if Purdy stayed healthy. I'm going to say, if you're going to say that, then I'm going to say we might have not even been there if Pollard had stayed healthy against us
yeah.
in the Cowboy game. People go, well, he didn't have the greatest stats. I'm like, look, this guy is a difference maker. This
Mm,
guy and CeeDee Lamb are the only guys that are playmakers on that team. And then once they
mm,
didn't have him, Dak is pressing.
mm,
He threw the interceptions. The game
yeah.
is totally different with Tony Pollard in the game. And they're
Mm,
like, oh, well, he's not. I maybe say he was top 5. And people arguing that. I'm like, look, they franchise tag the guy. You don't franchise tag a
yeah.
running back that isn't extremely valuable because it's $9 million.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to pay a running back $9 million.
No.
Even
No.
for 1 year. So, you look at the other ones that are up there, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. These are all the best running backs in the league. So, and they're all getting franchised. So,
Saw that
anyway,
tweet. And
yeah.
I
So I got
got
people got
yeah.
so mad at me. That was one. They got really mad at me for the one about the Eagles where I said, "Oh, where." Some Kevin Kruger put the quote out of Rich Eisen, a clip from his show where Rich Eisen was saying, "Oh yeah, well the Niners, damn near won the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy," and I'm like, "What? You damn near won?" I mean, I said, how can you say Purdy damn near won the Super Bowl when he got blown out of the NFC Championship game? They're all like,
Mm,
"Oh, you got injured. You got injured."
mm,
And it's like,
mm,
yeah, he got injured, but it's not like some fluke thing that Brock Purdy got injured. First of all, he's small, especially in the upper body. He's got these big, they call them baby Bosa thighs. So if
yeah.
you're kind of a small guy with huge thighs, you're even smaller in the upper body relative to other quarterbacks. And And they're like, and then I said, Purdy played reckless and it caught up with him. And they're like, oh, what are you talking about? And then I've got this clip that I've saved. It was from the play in the wild card game against the Seahawks when, he scrambled left and he reversed field, scrambled right, and he stopped and avoided a rusher. And then he threw to Ayuk in the corner and Ayuk dropped it. And,
Yeah.
and this play is notable for a couple different reasons. But I'll go into the reason why I brought it up first, which is he got drilled after he stopped. He got drilled, and obviously I dropped it. And they're like, you love to see that kind of, the announcers like, you kind of love to see that kind of play, but man, take care of yourself. We need you. There's nobody left. They all knew it was Josh Johnson next. And it was so prophetic that this is one game before he gets knocked out of the Eagles, or two games. There's the Cowboys game in between.
Yeah.
And it's just like you could see this coming. There were signs, there were warning signs of this coming. And this is the way he played at Iowa State. They said, like, this is how Purdy's always played. He's always played a little bit reckless. It's part of his game. It's part of why I like him. All right. I mean, I like Purdy. I like him. I don't hate him. I like him. I like that he's reckless, but then it's a concern too. Just like I like that Debo and Kittle are reckless and they run people over, but it's a concern for injuries, right? You can like it and still be worried about it at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and then the other reason why I bring up that play was because people say, oh, this is such a great play by Purdy. And I'm like, you know what? If Purdy had a decent arm, he would have never stopped running on that play. He would have just slung the ball. And and Ayuk would have made the touchdown because in the time he stopped, the guy went by him. He sets his feet and throws where he could get enough zip on it to actually get it to him. Well, Cody Barton made up all kinds of ground. He was out of the play, and all of a sudden he didn't tip it, but he got his hand close enough to where in this replay they basically were saying like, oh, it got knocked away, even though it didn't. It looked, his hand was so close that it looked like it knocked it away. And when you get your hand in front of, between you and the ball, there's like very little time to react once the ball clears the guy's hand. Even if it's a couple feet, it's just a split second, and it just makes it very much easier to drop. I'm not totally absolving Ayuk on the play. It is still a drop, but like NFL receivers, you could say like they should still make it, but not nearly as much as if there was no hand in front of his face type of thing.
Yeah, that's, I love to hear the passion, Ted, because we are so, all of us Niner fans are so desperate to get this 6 Lombardi. And I think, as I just referred to just previously, Kyle is so desperate as well. And I think the whole roster, this whole, like, if we don't get it this year, what are we like? The Kittles are getting older. CMC is brilliant, and he's probably got 2 or 3 seasons left in him. Fred Warner, he's an absolute beast. DFF, Flanagan Files. I'm just trying to think of some players that may not have the longevity that we think they have. But yeah, it's just there are so many variables going into being the journey of being a Niner fan through this period. The Jimmy G, this whole quarterback thing with Kyle, it has been such an emotional ride, and that's why I guess we're all so emotional and get fired up about things, because I guess we just love this team so much, and it can be a beautiful thing. It can be a thing that divides people, but in the end, we all want what's best for the Niners, and based on what said, I want to go back to what Grant said today. He gave Brock a C+, right?
Grant was a little harsh.
Grant was harsh, right?
Yeah, go ahead if you finish, but I'll give the grades for the people that I was with.
Yeah, I want to hear your grades. So, and just going back to Jesse Naylor had Sam as the best one. I mean, and Grant gave.
Jesse was with me.
Yep, Jesse was with you. Yep. But
Jesse, me, Rohan, and Raj from our 49ers sat together today. But then we also talked with Steph and Splash Cousin Jordan Elliott afterwards. Yeah. So we were all huddling up after to just sort of compare thoughts and notes. And
that'd be so cool. I've got to get over there and get there for training camp one year. But
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but like you can see that. And Grant says he's not a fan. I cannot see him being anything other than a fan unless he's got a pure hatred for Kyle, because the way Like the way he ended his instant analysis today, he's just so sick of the dinking and the dunking
Yeah,
that he gets so fired up about it. But yeah, Brock a C plus. Let's hear.
he definitely seems like a Lance fan. Grant does.
He's definitely a Lance fan, right? Because
He is. He is.
he has been, he's been covering the 49ers for a very long time. And he has seen, what he saw. I don't know how. I think he was there since the Brian Hoyer experiment, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
anyway,
Grant's been coming to the team since I want to say 2009, but I'm almost certain about since 2011.
yeah, right. So yeah, let's hear what were your grades today?
Um, you know, folks I was with were sort of like B plus Darnold, B Purdy, B minus Lance. So
Okay.
not radically different than except for you know, but the difference is that Kyle said that Purdy was bad. We all thought he was, but one thing I'll credit Grant with is he was like over there. He's a reporter. He's like right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and we're way over in the GA section. Like basically, there's like here's us, and then there's one field, and then there's another field, and then there's the VIP and the reporters, and they flip it each day. They flip. So like on Tuesday, the 11-11s were in the close field to us, so we could see more.
Yeah.
Although I'll say we weren't in our ideal seat, so there was a column in the way. But some days they're tough on. They don't give content creators much. They help us a little bit to get the seats up high and in the right section, but it depends on who's working each day. Some days they're just like, no, you just gotta like go next. Wherever you go, you're next. But bottom line is Grant was closer to it today, so I'll give a little more weight to his opinion today. But he does seem like almost like if he's a Lance fan, like he's maybe a little bit of a Purdy hater too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, it's hard to argue with someone who had the better vantage point.
Yeah. He was just saying, that Purdy is who he is, and he's not going to rise to the ceiling that we think that Lance has. So,
I've been saying that all
he
off season. I
yeah,
can
he
see him
wants
getting a
he
little better, but I don't see him making any quantum shifts unless he gets better arm strength. He's not going to
yeah,
grow. He's not going to increase his top speed. So maybe, and then like the best chance for him to increase his arm strength was to sit there and rehab and not rush back. But I feel like they rushed him back too. So,
yeah,
and they allowed him to rush himself back. I mean, I
yeah,
was a pretty firm believer for a while, like Purdy was going to make sure he did what was best for his career. Because like when Lynch would give a date or Kyle would give a date, Purdy was sort of like, oh, I don't even know if I'll play this season. Like he was pretty
yeah,
non-committal about the whole thing. And I was like, oh, good, Brock, take care of yourself. Like maybe increase that arm strength or maybe at least get it back to 100%. I have
yeah.
concerns that he won't even be back to 100% because they keep saying he is. And literally I've not seen one throw at the level of his top throws from last year.
Which again goes to the desperation that when I mentioned desperation means bad decisions, and if Kyle is rushing him back again with his desperation to get this sixth Lombardi, and get his first Super Bowl, then again he is. It's so short-sighted. It's better to be out for a little time now than a long time later. That's always been, I coach. It's almost like you'd probably call it little league over there in terms of baseball. It's rugby league. But when my guys get injured, I say you got to take all the time you need. If you think you can come
Yeah,
back
it's
this
like
week,
me today before the show when I'm like, I'd rather be late than hurried, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, same idea, same
Yeah,
idea.
it's all about being
Wait till you're
prepared.
sure it's right, then take a chance by coming back too early. It's just
Set them up for success, right? And that's what
Kyle
that's the
just
other.
views these people as interchangeable cogs, and it's his system, and he doesn't look for a great QB. He looks for like we said, a mid robot who does what they're
Yeah.
told, who can be interchangeable, and who's not gonna like think on their own. Who's just gonna do exactly what he says.
Which is Kyle's thesis, right? And he's so hell bent on proving that thesis,
And that's why
so
he
that
doesn't. That's why he doesn't like change his system to fit like a
no,
different type of QB like Lance. He just wants somebody who's going to fit in his system, even if they're inferior, because That's so far all we've seen.
And the league is such much. It's not. It's a passing game. If you need to get down the field, if you got 2 minutes to go, and you need to get down that field quick, who's going to do it? Is it going to be Purdy? Is it going to be Lance? Is it going to be Darnold?
It's going
Yeah,
to be Lance or Darnold. Purdy does
that's
not
right.
have that club in his bag.
No. So, will he try the experiment again where he gets a package in for some of these guys? We don't know this yet, right? And being notorious slow starters, with Kyle, I've got Kyle on my other screen here. He's got Sterling Bennett at 49ers Access has posted something where Kyle has said he'll get there, but we're not worried about Brock. Brock's the real deal. He knows how to play. I don't know if you've seen that comment, but
No,
anyway.
that's the one I quote tweet. If you look on the quote tweets, I'm one of them, and
Okay.
I basically said like, for anybody who was doubting me as a source, essentially as to Purdy not being, for everyone who
Well, there you
doubted
go.
me when I said Purdy isn't back to his 2022 self yet, here it is. He'll get there. That means he's
Yeah.
not there. That means he's not there.
Yeah.
And David McNiner, I like to call him, he's Dave McNew or McNuevo, I like to say. He's saying Purdy's rehab this way. He's on schedule. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's what we expected. It's just some people were trying to argue with me that Purdy's already back. And I'm just like, no, I'm there. I'm not seeing it. Like, well, first they're like, who's your source? And I'm like, no, I'm the source. I've been there 6 practices. I'm the source, and I'm telling you, he's not right. And they're like, well, Jack didn't say that, and so and so. And a lot of people don't say it because they're trying to be positive and they're just trying to say nice things, and they don't want to bring a lot of criticism upon themselves of these fanatical people that just think Purdy is freaking God because he went 6-0 and 2-0 when there's at least 10 quarterbacks in this league that could do what he did or better. That's the thing. He's mid. Jimmy G was below average. Purdy's a little better. He's mid, right? That's it. And people got mad at me for saying that. I'm sorry. And that was before the injury. He was mid. So he's not even mid right now. Not even mid right now. Yeah, I hope he is. I hope he gets better, all that. But what I'm seeing is not,
It's not
great.
It's not that flash. You're not going to get those passes that you see from Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow and Ryan Hensley says it all the time. Shout out to Ryan Hensley. He always says you don't win championships with mid quarterback play. You get it with elite quarterback play. And as much as I love Brock, he's not elite. That is not elite skill set.
No. I mean, you can. There's a few examples. Nick Foles, Dilfer, Brad Johnson. I would even go as far as say Jim McMahon of the Bears. But, you got to have basically everything else has to be perfect around you, and it's not sustainable. None of them won two. So, you might do it 1 year, one time. I'm not saying we can't win a Super Bowl. I'm just saying we have a lot better chance if we develop Lance. And that's why I want to see him get some games in this season, some real games. Ideally. And the funny thing is, you would say to start the season, but I think that Pittsburgh game is, winning the start for the Pittsburgh game might be losing just because you got TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith coming off the edge against, McKivitz has looked good in camp, but he hasn't gone against Bosa yet, and TJ Watt is every bit as good as Bosa. Not every bit, but he's in that conversation with Bosa. He's in that tier of top 3 edge rushers. Garrett, Bosa, and Watt are the 3 premier edge rushers right now in the league. And Micah Parsons is chipping away, but until he plays a dedicated edge position, I'm not going to put him with those 3. So he's very versatile, very fast. But
just quoting at Lombardi himself right now. So Brock Purdy had only 1 training camp practice session last season with a completion percentage under 50%. Same as this season. Purdy's 1 practice under 50% was his first coming off an elbow surgery, 3 of 10. Since then, Purdy's ripped 4 straight practices at 70%. The 49ers are thrilled with how quickly their QB1 is working off inevitable rust. See, that's meat riding, man. That's
Homer alert. He's a homer. If Grant's a hater, Lombardi's a homer. I like to say, you may not be familiar with this down under, but you probably know about Fox News and CNN. CNN's very liberal. Fox News is very conservative. If you want to know the truth on politics, you kind of have to watch both. and draw
Yeah.
the invisible line down the middle. That's kind of like Grant Cohn and David Lombardi a little bit. And I think we're seeing that today. Like, listen how positive David Lombardi is. Listen how negative Grant is. And you listen to Jesse and Rohan and me and Raj, and we're like more in the middle. We're more like, hey, it was a good day. It was one of the better days for the QBs. I still think Monday when Lance went off was the best. Not just because it was Lance, but because Lance was really good. Darnold was almost as good, and Purdy was almost as good as Darnold. Whereas the other day where Purdy beat Lance and Lance was really close to Purdy, Darnold was way below. So as a three, anyway.
I like this is a great comment from Natalie. I think she's bang on. Bang on.
Right. Let's see. Purdy started playing last season. It was survival mode. Now he's seeing a whole playbook and learning his QB. Could be the starter. People are acting like Garoppolo scored on his first play. Acting like when yeah. And ultimately, like the funny thing with Garoppolo was, he played so well, and then Kyle tried to smash him into his system. And I know for a fact that Kyle in 2017 incorporated a lot of elements of the Patriots playbook into his. So as a one-time, Kyle actually did modify his scheme to the strengths of a quarterback, not necessarily their physical traits, like what we're hoping he'll do for Lance, but just to his experience coming from the Patriots system. Kyle, fused some of that in for 2017. And then in 2018, he's like, okay, I got you all summer. Here, you learn my way. You do it my way. I'm going to tell you what to do, And Jimmy was not the same. And some people say it's from his ACL, but it was even before his ACL. He was 1-2, and he wasn't looking good. Like he didn't look like he looked in 2017 before the ACL. So that is a great point, Natalie. Absolutely. And welcome to the show. I don't think I've seen you before, so thanks for joining. Appreciate having you here.
There's a YouTube clip where they do that 5-0 run from Garoppolo, and it is Garoppolo. It's the best I've ever seen him play. He was confident. He was talking to and it's almost like I think it's a mic'd up or something. He's talking to his receivers. If you do this, I'll bang it right on you, and this, that, and the other. And he seems so confident. He seems so free. He seems like he's having a great time. It feels like he's found his home. He's been behind Brady for all that time at the Pats. And then you're right. It's so right. He just wants to mold them. And he's such a control freak. Kyle, he will not settle until his name is in, because he loves hearing the media say Kyle's such a genius. He's such a great play caller. He's this, he's that, and the other.
And if you have a Patrick Mahomes, they're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes.
That's right. And
Andy, be like, Patrick won the game, not Kyle.
That's right. So
yeah, no, it's sad to see. Sad to see for sure. I hope he doesn't do that to Purdy. I love the way Purdy played last year. Want to see more. Want to see him grow. I don't think he has a lot of room before his ceiling, but he could definitely learn, to be better earlier in the play clock, or not the play clock, but earlier in the play, earlier in the progressions. That was one area where Jimmy was much better than Brock was in the first 2.5 seconds of the play. Love to see him improve that. Stepping up into the pocket, not bailing back and left every time. And throwing with more anticipation. All those things might have helped him to keep from getting injured against the Eagles. So more experience can help him to avoid more injuries in the future for sure. So hope we see that. It's interesting stuff for sure. And we saw some good stuff. Who's been a real standout? Obviously, Ayuk has 23 catches in just 7 practices. As I mentioned, though, a lot of those are against Ambry Thomas, who's been burnt toast this whole training camp, but also some of Purdy's completions besides when he got a bunch versus Ambry on Tuesday were against Terrence Mitchell the other day. I think it was Monday or Sunday. Must have been, he was off Sunday, so it must have been Monday. And he made a real nice sort of Ayuk and a real nice sort of Debo, both down the left sideline. And both were against Terrence Mitchell, who's like this cornerback off the street. So, we talked about linebackers. Drake Jackson's looked real good. Yep. We got Taco Charlton on Tuesday, so it's a Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
Got some hope for him being a Kasaric reclamation project, kind of like Arden Key, Charles Amenahu, Samson Ebukam. Had a Seahawks fan try to argue with me that Ebicom isn't better off with the Colts now than he was with us financially. And I'm like, what, dude? I'm like, he was 2 years, 12 mil with us, 5 guaranteed. Now he's 3 years, 24 with them, 10 guaranteed. Not only 10 guaranteed, but he got 9 million signing bonus. And then this season he's going to get a couple, almost 3 million. So he's going to make almost as much in 2023 as he made in 2021 and 2022 with us. So yeah, you tell me he's not better off because he was saying, the salary cap goes up each year, and it doesn't go up that much. It doesn't go up double, my man. Not even close. So
what about Tay Martin? I'm hearing Tay Martin's doing some good stuff.
Tay Martin's done really well. He's my second come up receiver. Number one is Chris Conley. Has been doing really, really well. Yeah, Chris Conley. And on my earlier show with Aaron, somebody was saying that he's a really good run blocker, like a better than 80% run blocking grade every year of his career. So that, if nothing else, that would give him the edge, all things equal. And it hasn't been equal. Conley's been the best if you go, obviously you go Debo, Ayuk, Jennings, you go Ray. Then I think it's Conley, Tay Martin, Ronnie Bell.
What about Danny Gray?
Oh, Danny Gray has been pretty good too. Where would I put him? I'd put Conley ahead of Gray. So the big question mark is Tay Martin or Danny Gray. Ooh. Wow. That's tough. I guess I'd give him a tie. Tay Martin and Danny Gray.
And what about tight ends, Ted? Like, so
I guess just I would maybe give the edge to Tay Martin. It's just like when Lance has been going, he's been hitting Conley and Tay Martin because he hasn't had Ayuk and Debo and CMC and Kittle. I mean, he has, but not nearly as much. No CMC and not nearly as much of those other cats, obviously, as Purdy. So.
And tight ends, Cameron Latu struggling a little bit. Who's going to be?
Nothing dropped. He's getting good separation though, so that's a good sign.
Okay.
And Braden Willis, tons of targets. Grant was saying he hasn't seen a tight end since Kittle, a rookie tight end since Kittle, get so many targets. Braden Willis had 4 targets today, and the other day he had 4 catches and led all weapons with 4 catches.
Wow!
Did he get a lot more in the dump offs in the flat, but still 4 catches is what it is.
So he got 4 targets, 4 catches today.
What's that?
Did he get 4 targets, 4 catches today? You're saying
4 targets today. I don't know how many catches.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, that was Bash who said that. Bashar from I do balling with Bash and Ted with him on Fridays.
And then there was a 3rd string left tackle today.
Yes. From the one from UTSA who played with Spencer Burford, except for when he played. Yes, who was a tight end back then. So he's a converted tight end tackle, which is exactly what Joe Staley was. So he played well. He played pretty well. I mean, I think, when you're replacing Jalen Moore, the world's your oyster, man. I mean, I think that guy doesn't set a real high bar for replacement. So yeah, I could see Watson ending up as our swing tackle, maybe. I mean, it's limited, but just if he continues like what I've seen so far, he was good. But when I was talking to Ryan Hensley and Rob Statscarrera, during the session, they're like, oh, and Trent Williams is out. I thought I saw him on the field. Like, no, he's out. And I was like, oh, well, if our offense struggles, then that might be a reason why. So the fact that our offense, to everyone other than Grant, didn't think it did. So, I'm happy with what Watson did.
Yeah, good one.
But sadly, Aaron Banks is in concussion protocol, though. Today. That's a bad one. I mentioned Elijah Mitchell. He had the abductor. It was Barrows had the tweet that I was going off of for that. I of course didn't see it. We saw we saw Jalen Moore go down the other day. That was like a big, everybody was sort of on a knee, and it was somber, and so it's good to hear that that's just a bone bruise. Oh, Feliciano's shoulder. I think someone was saying it might just be a shoulder strain. And with Mitchell abductor strain, that hopefully is not too serious, and hopefully neither is Banks' concussion. But did we talk about Elijah Mitchell? And we talked about how he's injury prone. And did I talk about the linebackers tackling him too much?
Yeah, too much, way too much. And then you mentioned Matt Barrows, and so we've talked about Brandon Allen's lack of reps today. So Matt,
thank goodness.
Woo, yeah, well, apparently
they finally listened to us. Because we've been complaining about that for a while.
What's that?
We've been complaining about that for a while.
Yeah, so. Well, I'm like, why is he even getting reps? But
yeah,
Kyle Shanahan has said today that don't look into it. First practice back after break is a typically shorter practice, and there weren't enough reps for 4 QBs.
Wow, Kyle.
He just comes back and just.
I mean, I will say though, even in the last practice, he had like half the reps of everybody else too, though. So
yeah,
I think Kyle's like, I think it's an ego thing. He's like, I don't want to admit I was wrong to get the reps, so I'm going to say there's going to be more. But I would be surprised if he got as many reps as Darnold and Lance in the next practice. I think he'll get half as many. Because what they were doing that we all liked was they would go Purdy 1, Lance 2, Darnold 3. What did they do? Oh, no, they did Purdy 1, Lance 2, Allen. Then they did Purdy 1, Darnold 2, no Allen, no Lance. So they were making it so that Allen got, like I said, about half as many reps as Lance and Darnold. So
I think
they should keep that
there, right? So what I've been watching a little bit of Haberman and Middlecoff, and Haberman, who I like his.
I like him too. Middlecoff, the Lance hater though, so
yeah,
not a big fan of him.
He was saying that it looks crowded. It looks crowded out there with all those quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's a lot. You really want to pick one or two and get them most of the reps, because hopefully, I know we had that happen last year, but I think you want to plan on most of your reps for the first and second string QB. Honestly, I think that's a smart move. Really, mostly for the first, if you can decide on one. It sounds like they're decided on Purdy, but I'm just like, it shouldn't be. It should be. We should have an open and fair competition. That's until Purdy looks like he's 100%, and until we've seen Lance with all the real weapons, and he doesn't look as good as Purdy, then they should be competing.
Yeah.
It's like the same people. Like the same people that say, "Oh, it was a mistake not to have a competition for Lance last year, but it's fine not to have one for Purdy this year." And if he was coming off the 8-0, I mean, which it isn't really as 8-1, but whatever, the 8-0, and hadn't been injured, then I could see it. But the fact that he's been injured, the fact that he's not right physically, and definitely not right mentally, and not even right, and then even if he gets right mentally in this stage, we don't know if he's mentally right where you're hitting and getting sacked.
Yeah.
There's some questions out there, in my opinion. Yeah. So, valid questions, like not just like off the wall stuff. This is like
no, it's like common sense football, right? He's come back from a big surgery. It's soft tissue. Don't rush these things, man. Like, you've got Trey Lance there. It's just we could talk about this for hours.
No doubt. Well, I know you need to get rolling here before too long.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thanks for everybody who tuned in. If you are watching on my channel, make sure you get over to Niners DNA and give Pete a subscribe and a like. And if you're on Pete's channel, please do the same for me.
Yeah, and definitely. My guys, get over to TED Talks Ball. One of the nicest guys in Niner content creator land, and some good takes. Follow him on Twitter too. You get some good spicy stuff that you don't sit on the fence, which is what us Aussies like.
There you go. No, I mean, I may go down, but I'll go down swinging. So
That's right.
that's what it's gonna be. Not gonna be like, oh, I like them both the same, and everybody's
No,
great.
no.
I mean, I do like Purdy, but I'll just say, like, people say, oh, we got to win games. Like, we got to win number 6. If he wins number 6, then I'll be happy. Anything
Yeah,
short of that, I'm gonna be like, why the hell didn't we see what we had in Lance? So that's where it
exactly.
is for me, and I'm saying
Yeah,
it now, and I'll say it again. But yeah, have a great day. Have a great weekend, Pete. I'll just say
yeah,
peace and
yeah,
go Niners.
yeah. Going on, man.